So I just dried it. It's not quite dry. Hang on, I'm just going to use my heat gun again for a quick second. There we go. So it's nice and dry again. And the way you can tell it's dry on watercolor paper, this is 90-pound hot press watercolor paper from Arches. But it doesn't feel cool. As soon as something doesn't feel cool, it's dry. So I'm just going to take my Elegant Writer again, and I'm going to go back in here and start tracing some more. And I'm not tracing every line because that would just take far too long. And the frame you see on here, that's the size of an A2 card, so that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'll cut it slightly smaller so I can put a map behind it. But that's just the easiest way for me to mark it out on when I do it in WordPad or Microsoft Word. Get some brushes out of my way here. The nice thing is once you take one of these images and lighten them like this, I save it. So if I ever want to use it again, I've already got the lightened copy. Hi everybody! My big head is in the way. Somebody yell at me. I don't think it is because my forehead's basically even with the camera. I don't know how many of you follow my blog or anything like that, but when I put up my sunflower card that I had made, that image was from the same company as this one. I actually won a $25 gift card to their store with it, so I picked myself up this one and one other digi-stamp, and then I got myself one rubber stamp too, or clear, I can't remember how they make them. I do think Paula's played with these Elegant Writer markers before as well. I just really enjoy them. I think they're fun. It's something not quite as typical as everything else I use all the time, so. Okay, so there's our leaves. And again, I'm just going to start by throwing some water onto the image. That just gives it some nice natural blobs and runs and not quite as controlled. No, it's actually a calligraphy pen. They're a calligraphy marker. This is like a fine one. But it's from Speedball. They're called Elegant Writers. So it's a calligraphy pen. But they do beautiful things when you hit them with water. I really enjoy like lifting up the color and getting the pinks and things in the background. There is a fantastic artist. I've seen her on the Cheap Joe's YouTube channel, and she mixes these and Neocolor 2s all the time, and she does beautiful work. Stunning work. And they're not overly expensive or anything, so that's nice. It's not. Yeah. Yeah, she plays with these in Neo 2s all the time, and she does, like, I adore her watercolor. It's absolutely stunning stuff she does, so. And when I go through, if I decide I've taken too much of the color out, like here it's gotten really, really pink on me. You can always, if you want to, you can always, as you lift from other places, put the black, which turns into a purpley color, back in. Like here, I know I want to activate it real well because that's going to be in shadow. Because that's where the leaf folds under. It gives you a lot of control over what's happening with a brush, so. And I prefer this too, and I have tried watercolor or water brushes and lots of water brushes. And I honestly prefer having my pot of water and a real brush. I came down here last night while Paula was streaming to make cards, and I sat here, and I sat here, and I didn't do anything, so I went to bed. See, here's going to be under shadow because there is a tulip here, and behind it that's actually laying over top of the leaf. So, make sure that we activate a lot of that and let it bleed out into the flower. And just a little bit up here. Bring that out to the top. And then again, I'm going to take my mister and I'm just going to mist the image so that any of the lines that I haven't activated with the brush are going to be activated. And now we have to dry it. So heat gun, if it bothers you guys because it takes a few minutes, just let me know and I'll mute. When the paper doesn't feel full, it's nice and dry. And I just washi tape it down to a board here, so when it dries, nothing's bubbling or anything like that. Now it's not a very thick watercolor paper either, so. Cell phone's digging. Okay, so when we go in here, well, can you guys see those? You can see where the tulips fold over and it's going to be darker underneath and stuff. So these I'm going to take, they take some time. I'm not going to race doing them because I want my different layers to dry before the others put on. Let's turn this so that I'm not shadowing myself and I can actually see where I'm putting the color with the pen. And I'm not being quite as detailed as the actual stamp. The actual stamp is. So I'm just going to do the pieces that are in behind first. Oh, thanks, Colleen. And when I'm doing the ones in behind, I'm just making sure that I'm not doing them touching each other. Except for here, these ones will be alright. I guess. We'll see. Hopefully. So we'll start with those on that one. For pants, my paper was pants, or it was just me that was pants. What kind of watercolor were you using? It's time consuming. Like, it's not the fastest thing in the world. I mean, I could have easily printed it with the black outline or even the gray outline like this and just gone in with watercolors or with Inktense pencils or something of that nature and gotten a very beautiful card. I mean, it's definitely not going to be bad to do it that way, but I just thought this would be different, something out of my norm, because I do a lot of coloring in different mediums in different ways, and I like to change it up once in a while. I mean, my Copics are still my go-to. And mainly the reason why my Copics are my go-to is because they're fast. If I was doing with this, if I could speak English, if I was doing this image with my Copics, I'd probably be close to finished already. I'm also going to do just this middle piece in these flowers while we're at it, just because they don't touch anything else. So I can get away with it right now. Then this one. This one is the one you see the most of, which means it's probably the most complicated flower of them all. Hi, bunny. If my big head's in the way, just yell at me, you guys. I just want to open this up here really quick, just so I can see the dark version of the flower, just to make sure I'm doing what I think I'm doing on the center of this one. I don't need a perfect imprint of it, but there's just a picture of my computer screen, so it's not a great picture, but it just gives me a darker look at what I'm looking at here, so. Okay, we'll start with those. No, I want to do this too. I'm just trying to make sure I get enough of it done on the first shot that I'm not going to have to do it like 4 times in order to be able to get everything colored. So, same thing as before. I'm just going to go on and throw some water on it. Just letting it do its thing for a little bit, for a minute here. And these are, like I said before, mostly the undersides of the flowers. So they are what's in shadow. So I want to leave and activate quite a bit of it. Takes time. Like I said, it's not something you can do and expect to have done in a real big hurry, because you want it messy, but you gotta, especially when you're doing it in a flower like this, you have to have some control over what's going on, right? Oh, too much water. Not enough. Oh yeah, it's definitely not going, you're right, like it's definitely the sketchier look. It's not going to be a perfect image. Like it would look more perfect, so to speak, had I colored it with my Copics, because it's not. Okay, and then just like, oh, just wait, I missed a piece here. Missed this. Okay, now this is not an underneath petal, it's an on top petal. So there's gonna be a shadow there, and there's gonna be a shadow along here, because that's where it comes over. Let's add a little more water on top of that so I can lift some of it out and get some of that pretty pink happening. There. And then this whole back piece is under shadow, and I think I'm just gonna leave that the dark. Then now we're on the top flower. So when I start pulling that out, I'm gonna actually pull it out of the image, not into the flower too far. Okay, spray it with our water, get my phone out of the way. Sit for a minute, because that activates all of our ink, and then we'll dry it. Okay, now we'll go in and do the last of it, and then we'll actually start putting some color on it. Piece of paper towel looks pretty cool when you're done too. You can see how you get the different, my lighting's horrible, the different pinks and blues and greeny tones in it. If I'm boring you all and somebody else wishes to stream, just tell me. One done. And just a few of these up here. Do a little more with that line. I find I don't talk a lot, so I just feel like I'm bothering people because when I get going, I kind of get quiet. Actually, it's usually because when I'm concentrating, my tongue's sticking out, so I can't really talk. It's true. I concentrate and I'm like biting on it. It's horrible. My mom always used to bug me about it when I was a kid. You're concentrating. Yeah, and and it's never gonna be a perfect replica of like what I printed out. If I had printed it with the black lines, the reason why I didn't print it with the black lines is once I'm done this, I didn't want you to see the original line art behind it. This hides it. wet it again. This is the last time. Then we'll be ready to put some actual color on here. Yep. Yeah, you could do it. You could stamp it in anything, even if you have like if you do Copics and you use the no lines technique with your Copics, so you have that sand color from Memento or whatever, you could use that on it too. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a little bit more, and then I'm just going to spray it and heat set it, because I don't want to bleed too much inside the flower, because this is more of our focus area, right? So we'll go down to the bottom one and do a little bit, and then we'll just spray it and dry it, and that'll be all she wrote. And that's all our shadowed parts, so we're going to leave that nice and dark. Okay, then I'll spray it. And I put lots on, so it does run it a bit, but it's going to leave the lines there. Oops, sorry. See, so now, if it wasn't for the fact that, like, where you can see the lines just a little bit outside of my initial frame and you didn't know right away, you would never know that this was printed or stamped, depending if you used a regular stamp. Now these are, we had played with these the other day. These are my golden core colors. I only have 6 so far. Hi! There is, what colors are in here? Quinacridone Magenta, quinacridone Gold, Green Gold, Transparent Pyrrole Orange, Dioxazine Purple, and Cobalt Teal. So I'm probably going to use my round number 6 still for the majority of this, just because that's the brush I like. It gets a nice fine point, so I can go really small with it too. And then you get a decent first stamped image. So I'm going to start with my green gold, and I'm just going to go into my stems and add a little bit in where the shadows are. And I had just put a little dab on this craft sheet of these colors when I was first playing with them. And it's just kind of stayed there. I haven't used it up yet, so. And I'm not sure if I can say that these are going to react the same on regular watercolor paper, because this is not like craft watercolor paper, it's Arches, so it's not the cheapest watercolor paper on the planet. It's not the most expensive watercolor paper on the planet, but I like the quality. So now I'm mixing some of the cobalt teal in with that green gold. I'm going to take that in the shadowed part of our leaves. And if you find that it's too opaque because you've got too much paint, I just add more water. You can still lift it off. It's a great quality watercolor, so it's gonna lift and it's gonna do all those fun things that watercolors do. And I'm not coloring the whole image in, I'm just adding bits and pieces of the color just to tell you what it is, right? It'll help your mind read the image. And if I wanted a bit more of a shadow, I'll add a little bit of that dioxazine purple. Take it in, and that's just giving me more of a forest green type color. And you can take this as detailed or not detailed as you want. And as you let these golden colors dry out, they do dry out hard. Some colors that have like honey and stuff in them, they don't actually dry out. They tend to stay sticky. These don't. These get hard. There's a fly in your house. So does it read like flowers? Like, is it starting to come together? Or are you guys just seeing it because I told you that they're supposed to be flowers? Because I haven't really done this with a stamped image like this before. I played with it with my golden, or with my gorgeous girls once, and did one of them with it. I think she's over there. I have never put her on a card yet. I'm going to activate a bunch of the magenta here. And then some of the orange. We're going to play with those too. Well, that's a bonus because I'm looking at them going, I'm not sure if these look like flowers or not. I'm going to grab my we're going to need this after anyway. It's just white gouache. I was going to mix Chinese white with these colors, but I changed my mind. And with these two, I'm going to take some of the color and let it run out. Just because I did that with the other two, and it always looks nice when your background has the same colors in it as the foreground. And that's just a personal preference. You don't have to do it that way either. The nice thing with this pen is once you dry it and you've made sure everything has gotten wet, it's permanent. So you don't have to worry about when you brush over your lines and stuff that you're going to reconstitute that dark color and muddy everything up. Oh, the Speedball Elegant Writer. Once you get it all wet and it runs out, all the black and the pinky color and stuff, except for what I put in here, but all of this is all done with just this pen and water. It's an Elegant Writer. It is from Speedball Art. I like it, it's super fun. Okay, I'm just gonna dry it real quick. This is just cheap whitewash. It is Royal Langnickel. I don't know where I got it. And that's way more than I need, but that's alright. Now I have, these are two Winsor Newton, these are Cotman watercolor brushes, so they're student grade, but I have a size 0 and a size 1. I usually use these for coloring my stamped images, like my Magnolia Girls and that kind of stuff. I think I want the 0. Maybe not. Nope. I'm gonna go back up to the 1. 0 is too small. That's why I'm doing this. It's a relaxed day. Although I have laundry going, and I did dishes this morning. Thanks, Colleen. Well, I'm not filling them completely because I still want the pen there, right? Like, I didn't go through all of that work to hide it all underneath of stuff, but once you go through and add a little bit of color, and then some white. You could use acrylic paint too. It's all recorded. I actually pushed record without being told and needing to be reminded, so I'll make it unprivate once I'm done. But even where like the shadowed part is, I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of my white. And I'm not gonna use it as a line or really, really heavy, but it's just gonna start to pop different parts of the flower up and down from the rest. See, like here, we'll go along the edge of our bigger leaf, like our foreground petal. And then I'll take a little more water and I'll just blend it in just a little bit more and dab it off. But I love these speedball pens. I think that's my second one. I've killed one already because they're fun. And I use gouache with a lot of water. It just, even when it's super watered down, gouache is an opaque watercolor as opposed to a translucent one. And I feel more comfortable using it because I can lift a bunch of it out than if I was to take like my gold and white acrylic, which is what I use over top of my Copics. I think that would just be, if I made a mistake, there's no going back from acrylic over top of watercolor. And with this, I can still go back. Once you get the pen on, it doesn't take long to go any further, to go further. And lots of water when I go in over top of these shadowed bits. Wipe it out. And you can do that a couple times if you want it brighter, but I'd rather use real water down and dab it back than use it too thick, just because that is still the shadowed part. I just want to be able to define the petals in front of it. Now for this bottom one's turned into a bit of a mess. It's kind of a mess, yeah. So we'll see if I can make it salvageable, because I really don't want to have to throw the whole project away. Yeah, I don't want to put it on thick and have it be very opaque, which is part of why I picked the cores too, because they are very translucent watercolor. You get a very similar effect with Peerless over top. I've used those before. I'm not happy with that flower. Not at all. I think it's because I did it in purple. But now do I risk going back and putting another color over top of it, or do I just leave it alone? That is the question. fly is gone. Think it looks good? Maybe I'll just leave it alone so that I don't destroy it, because my luck. Okay, let's pull this off. I'm just gonna go set this aside. I normally don't use a Ranger watercolor for my palette, but I'd squeeze these out on here when I first tested them, so I'll leave them there till I use them up. And I've made a mess of a piece of paper towel. Pretty pretty, look. All of our colors. Okay, anyway. I'm going to put my water away before I run into trouble, because that would not make me happy. After I've used my brushes, I have a brush holder here, but after I've used them and they're wet, I put them in the brush holder and I just leave the brush holder stand open for like a day so that they get to dry out nice. Because when I store this thing, I stand it up, but you don't want to stand your watercolor brushes up so that the water runs down, because it can destroy them. And I mean, I don't have the most expensive watercolor brushes in here. These two are garbage brushes. I use them for other things, but I don't want to wreck them. So they'll just lay off to the side. Okay, we'll hit this with a heat gun, make sure everything's dry. I bought it on Etsy, actually. They look very easy to make. I just didn't want to sew it, so I paid it for like, I think I paid like $30, $25 for it with shipping. If you want to know who I got it from, I can tweet it after. I'll tweet the shop I got it from. It was super nice. She had a bunch of different patterns, and I wanted the 2 rows, because it's got 2 rows of pockets in it. But I wanted the 2 rows, and she didn't have it in this fabric pattern that I wanted, so I asked her and she made it for me in like a day and a half and shipped it out. Put the listing up and got it shipped to me. So I'm not too worried about the outside edge of this paper, because I made the paper larger than the card front, so if it rips it a little bit, it's not a big deal. And because we had it taped down, the paper stays relatively flat. Now we're going to get our paper trimmer. And I'm not cutting over that line to start. I'm just going to cut around it so that I can make sure I have that it is square to my paper trimmer before I start cutting it down to size. Because I made this the size of a whole card front, but when I do my cards, I like to mat them. So my first layer will be, the cardstock that goes underneath of it will be 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and this one will be 4 by 5 1/4. So I need to decide how I want to cut this down. So we're going to go there for right now. No, I don't want to lose that much. Okay, so that's 4. Now this one we're going to cut as close to on that line as possible, and we're going to take the rest off the bottom to 5 1/4. So there's going to be the front of our card. Yeah, I started with the Elegant Writer pen from Speedball, and then I used my core watercolors over top, and then I put my it'll come to me, a white gouache over top of that. Now to decide what kind of paper I want to put it on. Do I want to put it on that? I don't like that. That does absolutely nothing for that card. Okay, not that one. This is about the most time-consuming part for me, and 9 times out of 10, I end up going with white. Okay, so I'm going to try one color, and then I'll try white. I didn't do much for the white. You can see in here where it's nice and bright, that's where I put it. And then I put it around and wiped it back just to push some of those other petals more forward. On green, okay, I'm going to give you guys 2 options, green or white, and you can tell me which one you prefer. And that's the one we'll go with, or white. I'm thinking white's going to win. And it's just going to have an 1/8 of an inch border, so it's just going to have like a tiny little bit. So on white or on green. White or green, you guys? Somebody let me know. I liked the green, but that was my issue too. I liked the green till I put it on white. Now the other option is if I put it on white, I could always put it on white for a little thing, and then I could make the card base out of green, and then it would be on both. Or I could do it the other way around. Or I could put it white on white. Uh-oh. I have to reload because apparently my camera is not working anymore. I'll be right back. Hang on, I'm just going to